Let's learn how to make a circle chart using Google Sheets. First, you'll need to sign into Google. If you're using the Chrome web browser, that works really well. And you'll need to open up a spreadsheet. Here we have a spreadsheet open that has already been started. I'm going to start a new sheet and use that for making a spreadsheet. And you can do the same thing at the same time. In the first cell up toward the top, A1, would be a great place to put your name. Your name here. First and last name would be great. And then just underneath that would be the name of maybe the assignment or what this is about. So how about how I spend a weekday? And then how about in cell A3, we just put down the day and the date. For example, it could be October 3rd, 2027, or whatever year it is for you right now. Let's skip one line and let's make a list of things you might do on any day of the week. For example, a work day or a school day or something like that. So let's write activity. And then in the next cells, let's think about what we do. Well, starting at midnight, we might be sleeping. We wake up, we have some meals, and get ready for work or school. Then we might go to school. Maybe after school we have some homework. Maybe we have some sports practice or something like that. A bit of time for reading. You don't have to list every single activity, but let's make sure to have between 5 and 10 activities. We'll make a circle graph, and by having a circle graph or a pie graph, it should look pretty good with that many activities. Now let's write down how many hours we're spending on each activity. We want it to add up to 24, so let's put time, and then use a parenthesis and write hours like that inside the parentheses. Now remember, you can always pause this video and rewind it. If it feels like it's going too fast for you, just pause it and rewind it, and you can always play it again. Alright, so sleep. Let's say you get about 9 hours of sleep per night. That would be fantastic. Maybe a couple hours for meals and snacks throughout the day. School is usually, well, the classes are usually about 7 hours if you're in high school, middle school, even college sometimes. Homework, let's say 3 hours because you really want to do well in school and you are interested in going to college or trade school and having a good job. Sports, maybe a couple hours of practice, and reading is always good to do for an hour. At least an hour every day would be good. Now let's double check that that adds up to 24, and we will use a function to do that. There's a number of functions inside spreadsheets, and this one is called the summation function. To start, you just press the equal sign. If you're using a regular keyboard, the one near backspace is the perfect one to use. Then type the word sum, and you'll see that it comes up with a little description that sums up a series of numbers and or cells. Then type a parenthesis, and it will ask for the range. And then if you close this little X here, you can click and hold your mouse button, pull down to the bottom, and let go. Looks like I might have done something wrong, so I'm going to delete this B6. I'm going to click my mouse right here. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to click and hold on B6. I'm going to pull down to B11 and then let go. Now I need to put the other parenthesis in there. So what you should have is you should have equal sign sum parenthesis B6 colon B12 B11 and the other parenthesis. All right, so just as a review, I'm going to erase that and just type it in. Equal sign sum parenthesis, let's see, that's B6 colon B11. And that B6 colon B11 is called the range. Everything inside there is going to be summed up, and you can see the result is 24. Okay, so we have 24. If we didn't have 24, we'd have to, think about, well, maybe we don't actually spend 3 hours on homework. Maybe it's 2 hours on homework, or maybe it's 4 hours. Might have to make some small additions. a nice activity for you after you finish this would be to make a new sheet and maybe make it for Saturday or Sunday or something. While we're at that, why don't we change the name of this? Instead of calling it Sheet 1, let's change it to, let's see if we double click, just My Day. My Day. So these sheets, altogether the sheets are kind of called a workbook normally. And so on our sheet, My Day, this is where we're going to have our nice circle chart. Let's just do a tiny bit more formatting. I'd like to see these titles across the top centered and in bold. Now the best way to do that is put your mouse on top of the 5, click, and then click on B for bold, or you can hold down the Control key and press the letter B. And then to center it, that might be under More and under Align. If you press the little arrow there, and there's centering right there. So centering, sometimes it can be hidden. You might have to search around underneath More to find that. All right, now that we've done that, why don't we make our nice circle chart? And let's make a circle chart on a separate sheet. We could put it on this sheet, or we could make it its own sheet. The thing that is nice about putting it on its own sheet is you can make it bigger, and it's easier to read that way a lot of times. So in order to use the chart function in Google Sheets, first you need to highlight the portion that you want to become the chart. So we need to highlight or select this box of text. We do not want to select the 24 because that's the total, and we don't want the 24 to be a slice in our pie. That would, of course, take up half of the pie, and then the rest of these would be slices that added up to 24. Now, sometimes people find this a little challenging to highlight all these. What I like to do is to click away from the cells that I'm going to select. Then I usually choose the lower right or the upper left, the upper right or the lower left, and click and hold. While you're holding, pull upward until you get exactly highlighted what you want. Then let go, and there you are. Okay, so now let's find out where the chart, insert chart is. Sometimes there might be a button underneath More. In fact, there it is right there, Insert Chart. Or we can go up to Insert, and it probably is right there as well. So Insert Chart. All right, New Chart Editor. Learn how to use this chart editor, dismiss, or show me how. I think we'll dismiss that because I can show you how to do it. First of all, you'll notice that we're getting a column chart here, and I'm just going to zoom out a tiny bit so we can see that. And that's not really what we want. We don't want a column chart, and the reason we don't want a column chart is because we are showing an entire day, and we want to show how that's divided up into hours and activities. So even though the bar chart looks okay, it is not the best choice for showing how an entire thing is spent. So since the entire day is divided up into these activities, we want to use a circle or pie chart. So let's go to our circle chart and see what we have. Okay, so we have our time, and we have percentages for each of these. This chart looks okay so far, but let's make it even easier to read. And easier to read might be a relative term. It really depends on who you're talking to. But first, let's improve the title on this page. So double click where it says Time Hours, and let's change the title to How I Spend a Weekday. How I Spend a Weekday. And if you click like over here outside of that box, then it'll accept that. It'll also open up the Customize, and you can see exactly where it is. If you needed to change the font for some reason, you could do that here. How about we put the number of hours inside the slices? The number of hours. Now right now you can see that the hours are going to pop up, but let's imagine we're sending this as a file. like a PDF file or maybe printing it out, we would want the number of hours to be available somewhere on here. And in fact, right now I'm less interested in the percentages of the day spent, more interested in the number of hours. So how to do that? Well, first of all, let's remove this legend that is kind of wrapped around. That's called the legend. That allows us to know what the pieces are. And when you click on legend over here underneath customize, you'll see that it says labeled. By clicking on the little arrow, we'll see we have several choices on what to do with the legend. First of all, if we change it to none, then there's no legend at all. But we could put it on the top, or the bottom, or the left, or the right. And I think it probably looks best on the right because we can see the colors, and we can see the colors just here, and there's a lot of space, but it looks pretty good. So let's go with that. Now, let's put the hours so they appear inside the slices. And to do that, we go to Series, I believe. Well, no, that's not it. Chart and Access Titles is not it. How about Chart Style? Last chance, Pie Chart. There it is, right there, Slice Label. So sometimes you have to look around a little bit to find exactly what you want. So let's go to Label, see what that is. Well, we already know what the slices are because we have our legend. How about Value? There we go. So now we can see how many hours are spent on each activity. If it were possible, what I would like the most would be value and label in the slices, but that is not one of the options that's available at the moment. So we're just going to leave that at value. Now, we have our chart done. We could change the colors of a slice if we wanted to. For example, why don't we just try changing the color of one of the slices, like maybe the first slice or the blue slice. By clicking on the slice, you can see that you have options as far as the color, and why don't you go ahead and change that to like a gray color, like this dark gray number 3 right here. And there we go. We have our pie chart and we have changed the colors. So you can change the colors. Remember, when you're making a chart though, you want the colors to be very different from each other. Next, let's go ahead and close the chart editor first. And let's slide this chart over to the right if we can. There we go. I've got it selected. I'll slide it over. So this would not be a bad thing to have the chart on the same page, the same sheet as your data. But again, as I mentioned, it's sometimes nicer to have it on its own sheet. So let's see how to do that. Go up to these 3 dots here and let's see our choices. We can edit the chart, which we have already done. Delete, save as an image, publish the chart, copy the chart, or move to its own sheet. So that's what we're going to do just here. Click move to its own sheet, and notice at the bottom it now says chart 1. It's on its own sheet, and we can still edit or change whatever we want. Go ahead and click on chart 1, and let's call this Circle My Day. I guess that's okay. Circle My Day. Let's see. Click X to close that. Now I do notice one thing that's kind of missing here. We don't really know what these numbers mean. And so let's go up to our title. And when we click on our title, let's add in parentheses hours per measured in hours. How about like that, in hours? How I spend a weekday in hours. All right, so that looks a little bit better. And there we go. So this is how you make a circle chart using Google Sheets. First, you, of course, make a table. The table has to have all the data that you're going to use in the circle chart. Then you select the part you want to become the chart. You find the Insert Chart command. After you've done that, you can make adjustments by using the chart editor. And after you're done, if you'd like to make it its own sheet, you can do that. If at any point you want to restart, you can just select and click Delete Chart. So now that you have made a chart for my day by following this video, why don't you add a new tab and make a chart for my Saturday. Following the same rules, go ahead and make a chart for my Saturday. When you get it all done, show it to your teacher.